Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Ever felt like you're just surrounded by lies and you just can't get a grip on what's real?
Oh, yes.
That's the fraud.
Yeah.
That's what this book, this Zadie Smith novel, it's historical fiction, really gets at. Victorian England. Um, it's a world where everything's changing.
Right.
Mass media is coming up and nobody knows what's true and what's not.
Yeah,
Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it?
it really does.
So hit that like button if you like where we're going with this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the link in the description for The Fraud if you haven't read it yet.
Yeah, The Fraud is amazing.
It is.
It takes this real historical event, the Tichborne trial.
Oh yeah.
And it just blows it up. It uses it to look at not just one man's claim, but
Yeah.
like how we even understand truth at all.
Right. So for those who haven't read the book, Victorian England, 1870s,
Okay.
lineage matters. Social standing matters.
Absolutely.
And this trial, the Tichborne trial, this guy comes out of nowhere, says he's the heir to this huge estate, back from the dead.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody is hooked.
Everybody was hooked.
And everybody.
And what Zadie Smith does so well is she doesn't just give you a whodunit.
Right.
You know, she uses the mystery to really look at what people were so worried about in the Victorian era. All this rapid social change, the power of newspapers, and that just deep down fear that nothing is what it seems.
Yeah, you can't trust your eyes.
Yeah.
And then there's Eliza Touchet. I love her.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's sharp. She's witty. She is not your typical Victorian lady.
No.
Not married. She lives with her cousin, who's a novelist, William Harrison Ainsworth.
Right.
And she's just watching everything.
She's the ultimate observer.
She is. She's seeing all the craziness, all the hypocrisy.
She sees right through it all.
But she's not just an observer, though, right?
No, absolutely not.
She becomes our guide through this whole mess.
Yeah.
And what makes her even more interesting is that she's also, she's got her own little frauds going on.
Oh, for
and
sure.
her own masks.
I've heard, don't we all? Though? Like, Zadie Smith really makes you think, like,
Yeah.
how much of what we show to the world is really us?
Yeah.
And how much is just, a performance?
It is a performance. It is. So we see this whole trial unfold through Eliza's eyes, and we're right there with her wondering, is this claimant, is he for real? Is he a con man? Is he delusional? And the Smith, she's messing with us the whole time.
Right. Like, she's playing with our perceptions.
Yeah.
Just like how the Victorians themselves were feeling.
Right.
They were overwhelmed with information, with the newspapers.
Yeah.
And it's like they suddenly realized that maybe what they were seeing wasn't the whole story.
Right. And just when you think you've got it figured out, there's another layer. There's another layer of fraud. Because Eliza's cousin, William,
Oh, yeah.
is accused of plagiarism.
By George Cruikshank, no less.
By George Cruikshank. Is like, whoa, wait a minute.
That's a whole other level.
What's going on here?
Right. And that subplot
Yeah.
about stealing art,
Yeah.
it adds this whole other dimension to how the book is looking at what's real.
Yeah.
It makes you ask, like, what even is original? Who owns a story? How do we even measure how good something is when inspiration can be so easily confused with just copying?
Right. It's like she's holding up this mirror. It's not just Victorian England, right?
Yeah.
It's us.
It's all of us today.
It's us today.
We're drowning in information, different stories all the time.
We're just trying to figure out what to believe.
Yeah.
And Eliza, her point of view is so important because she's skeptical. She questions everything. She doesn't just take stuff at face value.
Yeah. And a world where we're just bombarded with information. She's like the model for how we should be thinking.
Yeah.
How to be critical, how to not be tricked.
Right. And then there's Andrew Bogle.
Yes.
Now, this is really interesting.
Oh, he's a fascinating character.
He's a formerly enslaved man from Jamaica, and he's a staunch supporter of the claimant. And their connection, it goes beyond the trial.
It does.
It's about seeing each other as people in this society where everyone's worried about appearances, where you fit in, all this hierarchy.
Absolutely. Their bond, it shows how powerful empathy can be, like really seeing another person.
Right.
And Bogle's story, it adds this really important layer.
Yes.
Reminds us about colonialism, about slavery, these dark parts of Victorian England that were always there underneath all that respectability.
Yeah, the things people didn't want to talk about.
Exactly. And his story makes you face it.
Yeah.
Makes you realize that behind all the fancy manners, there is this system built on oppression.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Really does.
About what we choose to ignore, what we choose not to see.
Absolutely.
So there's this one scene, as is describing, she's going to one of the claimant's appearances.
Okay.
He's out there, he's working the crowd, playing on their emotions, and you can't help but wonder, is he a master manipulator, or is he just desperate to belong?
It's so Clipper how Smith does that. She plays with that ambiguity. She doesn't want to give us the answer. She wants us to think about like what drives people, how our own desires can make us blind to the truth.
And she does it brilliantly, right? I mean, she brings in all these details about history, about society, about what makes people tick. It's not just a story. It's like you're living it.
Yeah, it's like stepping back in time.
Yeah.
She captures like everything, what it looked like, what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Even what it felt like to be alive in Victorian England.
Yeah, and those anxieties, those unspoken anxieties.
Absolutely. You feel the weight of history, all those rules, and this kind of unease, like something's not quite right.
Right. And you're not just watching it, you're in it.
Yeah, you're immersed in it.
So then there's that scene with the stolen sugar.
Oh, yeah.
It seems so small, right? But Smith uses it to show just how cruel, how unfair Victorian society was.
Like a tiny little thing, but it points to this whole system of injustice that's woven into everything.
And it makes you think, right, about what we're missing, what we're not seeing today.
Yeah, exactly. What's the injustices that we're just blind to right now?
And we're just accepting as normal.
Yeah. It's not just the big picture stuff that Smith's getting at.
Right.
It's the personal stuff too. Like Eliza and her cousin William.
Yeah.
I mean, their relationship. It's
complicated.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, he's a big time author, but he's so insecure.
Oh, yeah. Always looking for approval.
Always needing that pat on the back.
And Eliza, she's the one who sees him.
Yeah.
Both the good and the bad.
Yeah, she could be so supportive, but she can also be like brutal with her honesty.
Oh yeah, she doesn't hold back.
You can feel that tension.
Absolutely. And I think that tension, it gets at something bigger that Smith's exploring.
Okay.
This struggle between who we are and who we pretend to be.
Yeah. That public face versus the real you.
Exactly.
William,
with all his fame, he's a perfect example. He's trying so hard to match this image he's created with how he actually feels inside.
Like, are we ever really showing our true selves?
It makes you wonder, right?
Yeah, even to the people we love.
And then you have Andrew Bogle. His struggle is different.
True.
He's a formerly enslaved man. He's trying to navigate a world that's still so full of prejudice.
Yeah.
His fraud isn't about hiding who he is.
Right.
It's about having to change to wear different masks just to survive.
Right. It's like he has to code switch constantly.
Absolutely.
There's this one scene with Bogle and his son.
Oh yeah.
And they have this ways of communicating. It's like they have their own language.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's unspoken. It's just there.
Yeah, it's like this shared understanding that goes beyond words.
Yeah.
And it shows how powerful empathy can be. But it also highlights how divided Victorian society was.
Right.
Even though she sees Bogle, she sees him as a person, she's still trapped by her social position, by the prejudices of her time.
And it's like, okay, we can have empathy, but is that enough?
Right. Like, is empathy enough to really change things?
To break down those barriers?
To dismantle these systems of oppression?
Yeah. Are we any better today?
I mean, it makes you think.
It does. Are we still judging people based on what we see on the surface?
Yeah, on those superficial differences.
Instead of trying to see the person underneath.
Instead of seeing that shared humanity.
Smith, she's not afraid to ask these questions. these uncomfortable questions.
Oh no, she's using the fraud to make us look at ourselves, at our own biases,
Yep.
at how history is still shaping our world.
And it's heavy stuff.
It is heavy.
But she manages to to bring in humor too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like that scene where Eliza's at one of the claimant's appearances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's playing to the crowd. He's playing to their emotions. And he sees through it.
She does.
But she also sees how much power he has over them.
Yeah.
How much they want to believe him.
Yeah. It's like she's satirizing celebrity culture. This way we can be so easily swayed by charisma, by anyone who claims to have all the answers.
Like be careful, right?
Right. Be careful of the people who offer easy solutions to complex problems.
Yeah.
I mean, don't we see that all the time?
Oh, absolutely. We see it today.
Yeah, it's like some things never change.
So going back to that plagiarism
Oh, yeah.
with William, with Eliza's cousin,
Mm-hmm.
what do you make of that?
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's like a story within a story.
It's metafiction. It's like Smith is asking us to think about how stories are told, how we create them.
And how even the people writing these stories, they can't escape that idea of fraud.
Exactly. It makes you wonder about authorship, about originality.
Yeah.
Like in a world where we're constantly reinterpreting stories, where do you draw the line between inspiration and just stealing?
Who gets to decide?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a question that's even more relevant now.
Oh, for sure.
With the internet and everything.
Think about like remixes, sampling music,
Yeah.
that stuff.
Content's being shared and changed and reused all the time.
Like Smith was ahead of her times. He's using a historical novel to talk about things that are still happening today.
One of the things that really struck me was how the book made me doubt what I thought was true.
Yeah, yeah.
The characters, even the ones closest to the claimant, they're unsure.
They're constantly questioned.
Yeah, they're like, wait, what? What do we believe?
That's what Smith wants us to do. She doesn't want to give us easy answers.
No.
She wants us to sit with the uncertainty,
Right.
to recognize that truth is often complicated, that it's not always black and white.
It is unsettling, though, isn't it?
It is.
To think that we can never really know another person.
Yeah.
Or even ourselves sometimes.
But in a way, it's kind of freeing too, right? Like it takes the pressure off. We don't have to have all the answers. We can be wrong. We can change our minds.
Yeah.
It makes us more humble, more open to different points of view.
And then there's Bogle, his story. It's so important.
It is. It's like this counter narrative to the whole Tichborne trial. It's about resilience, about hope, about overcoming unimaginable hardship.
Yeah.
Bogle, he represents something bigger. He's like the voice for all those people whose stories haven't been told, who's been ignored, erased by history.
And Smith's putting him front and center.
Yeah, saying there's more to the story than what you've been told.
Right.
Look closer.
Listen to the people whose experiences are different from yours.
Yeah.
And understand that history is... It's complicated.
It's messy.
Yeah.
It's not simple. And that's, I think, what makes The Fraud such a powerful book.
Yeah.
It's a story that stays with you. It makes you question things. It makes you think about human nature, about the slippery nature of truth.
Yeah.
And it shows you that sometimes there are no easy answers.
Right. So we've really dug into The Fraud here.
Yeah.
For you. What was the most interesting kind of fraud? What was the most compelling?
You know, I think it's how Smith ties together those personal deceptions, like how Eliza creates this whole persona for herself, and how William's always wrestling with being genuine to these bigger societal frauds like colonialism, and how truth gets twisted in the public eye.
Right.
It's like she's showing us that these individual struggles, they connected to these huge systemic problems.
Yeah, and those big societal frauds, they're still with us, aren't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, misinformation, people not trusting institutions, the way powerful people can spin a narrative, can control the story.
Yeah. It's everywhere.
It is.
Smith, she wasn't just writing about a Victorian knife.
Right.
She was warning us, be careful. Don't just believe everything you hear.
Think for yourself.
Exactly.
So the ending, I don't want to spoil anything, but it left me feeling, I don't know, a little unsettled.
Yeah.
It's like even when the truth comes out, there's not really a sense of peace.
No, it's not that neat and tidy.
It's not.
And that's what makes her writing so good. She doesn't wrap everything up with a bow.
Right.
She leaves you with questions, with ambiguity. She wants you to keep thinking about it,
Mm.
even after you finish the book.
It's like she wants us to be part of the search for meaning, not just passive readers.
Yeah, like we're not just, taking in a prepackaged story.
Right.
We're in this with her.
And that's what makes it such a powerful book. It makes you think.
It demands your attention.
Okay.
It forces you to wrestle with these big ideas about truth and lies.
So what about you guys out there? What really stood out to you in The Fraud?
Yeah, what did you guys think?
Was there a character you connected with, a scene that really got you thinking?
Tell us about it in the comments.
Let's have a conversation.
We'd love to hear what you thought.
And gotta say, Zadie Smith's writing, it's amazing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so rich, so full of life.
Yeah, her words, they just paint these vivid pictures.
She's so witty, so smart.
And she can transport you to another time and place.
It's like that part where Eliza says, "The courtroom feels like a theater."
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect, right?
It is.
Because it is.
It captures how performative justice can be, how truth can be manipulated for the public.
And it's those little details, those moments of insight that make her such a great writer.
Yeah, it's not just telling you a story, she's making you experience it.
Yeah. So if you haven't read Zadie Smith before, or if you're already a fan, check out The Fraud.
You won't regret it.
You won't. It'll make you question things. It'll make you think about history in a new way. And it'll show you just how powerful a good story can be.
And that's it for our deep dive into The Fraud.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us.
Let us know what you thought in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the books and ideas that matter.
Until next time, happy reading. TA82.